high rate of baby dumping, while poverty, absent fathers, lack of financial support, shame, and stigma play a role. Untreated postnatal depression is a critical overlooked driver. Mothers in mental distress often act out of depression, not malice. When a mother is imprisoned for dumping or killing her baby, we must ask, was she assessed for postnatal depression?
No.
Did she receive the care?
No.
Or was she punished for a condition she didn't understand or disclose? Namibia is a signatory to the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. We must ensure that women with mental health conditions, including postnatal depression, losing a baby as a result of stillbirth or miscarriage, are treated with dignity and receive the right support to deal with such trauma. Let us not pass a bill that protects everyone except mothers. By naming maternal health into law, we validate their pain, prevent avoidable tragedies, and build a society that heals rather than harms.
Continue.
I therefore implore that we recognize postnatal depression as a diagnosable mental health condition, mandate screening during antenatal postnatal care, and allow the diversion to treatment instead of incarceration for mothers diagnosed with postnatal depression. Furthermore, we need to ensure that psychiatric assessments are made mandatory for all maternal mental health offenses, especially in cases involving infants, are conducted by qualified psychiatrists with expertise in maternal health. The bill needs to introduce provisions for mental health diversion programs, allowing courts to refer mothers to treatment facilities or community-based care instead of prison, where appropriate. The bill should rather further mandate the creation of maternal health units within correctional facilities. These units should offer trauma-informed care, counseling, and rehabilitation tailored to mothers. I further propose that the training for law enforcement and judiciary should include the following: training police officers and magistrates on the recognition signs of postnatal depression, responding with empathy and referral rather than punishment, and avoiding traumatizing mothers during trial and arrest. These recommendations matter because they aim to prevent criminalizing mental illness, reducing reoffending and trauma, and further aligns Namibia's legal framework with global human rights standards, offering dignity and healing to mothers who are often victims of systematic negligence. Postnatal depression is not just another mental illness, it is a gender-specific, time-bound condition with unique social and mental implications. By naming it explicitly, we ensure visibility, targeted screening, and tailored interventions. Silence leads to negligence. Absolutely, we must uphold the law. We must also uphold justice. If a mother commits an act under the influence of untreated postnatal depression, the law must allow for psychiatric assessment and diversion care. Punishment without diagnosis is not justice. It is institutional failure. Thank you.
Continue.
Thank you. I recognize Honorable Mbundu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor to contribute on the mental health bill. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Ministers, I rise to make a brief contribution on mental health bill of 2025. At the outset, let me commend the Honorable Minister of Health and Social Service for bringing this long overdue legislation before this August House. The work that has gone into drafting this bill reflects both dedication and vision that it deserves our recognition. Mental health is fundamental to the well-being of our people. This bill presents an opportunity for Parliament to act decisively to ensuring that all Namibians have access to proper care, support, and protection. I propose that the bill be adopted without unnecessary delays, taking into account that the constructive amendment highlighted by previous speaker. In addition, I suggest the following two further improvement. Number one, annual public awareness campaign introduce a vision requiring a ministry to conduct regular national-wide campaign to educate citizens about mental health, reduce stigma, and promote early intervention. Two, mandatory training for frontline public servants, including clause to ensure that police officer, social worker, and other frontline public servants receive basic mental health training to better assist those in crisis. I urge all honorable members to endorse this bill wholeheartedly, demonstrating our collective commitment to the mental health of our nation. Honorable Speaker, honorable member, we must raise above partisan difference and act with urgency to pass this bill efficiently, because the mental health of our people, including ourselves here, is a matter of utmost importance. And we serve of the nation, we must deliver when it's counts. With these few words, I so submit.
Thank you. Honorable Kambala.
Honorable Speaker, since there's still more people to speak, I'd like to postpone it to next week, Wednesday.
Yeah, I have a number of people on the list still, so let's first hear them out. Yes, I give the floor to Honorable Matundu.
I hope I'll find my thing this time around. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I rise to support the Mental Health Bill of 2025 as tabled by the Minister of Health and Social Services, Honorable Esperance Luvindau. I thank the Minister for tabling this important bill that will work in the best interest of our citizens, just as the Minister has said in her motivation that the bill is aimed at transforming mental health care and ensuring the dignity, rights, and the well-being of all Namibians. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I'm well aware that the debate is at the second reading, but my intervention on a general debate will focus on Part 2, Article 68 of the bill. This is the article that is dealing with Namibian with mental health condition imprisoned in foreign country. Finding yourself on the wrong side of the law in a foreign country is devastating. Imagine when it happens to someone with mental health issues, definitely the stress level will be an issue. The honorable members of this august House have been very vocal when it comes to the performance of our missions abroad. They will always pose critical questions to the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, then now Trade, which is of course are valid questions, because what they want to know is what comes out of our missions abroad when it comes to performance versus the budget allocated to the missions abroad. That question keeps on coming back every year during the budget debate. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the point I want to make is that our embassies are seen to be doing little while they are doing a lot when it comes to our citizens abroad, because their safety is our concern. In the first place, we have requested our citizens to register themselves at the nearest Namibian embassies within their vicinity, and will continue to make that call so that the Namibian citizens abroad must register themselves at the nearest embassy around the globe. The request was made for the citizens to be known of where they live in case of emergencies. When crises arise in any foreign country, our first question as the headquarters to the embassy is how many Namibian citizens known to the embassy or those who have reached out or reported themselves to the embassy for help. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, at this juncture, Honorable Speaker, allow me to highlight some of the duties of an embassy when a citizen is arrested in a foreign country. When a citizen of this republic finds him or herself in trouble out there, the primary people to meet our citizens when arrested in a foreign country is our ambassadors, high commissioners, consul generals, and in a country where Namibia does not have an embassy, our honorary consuls can meet the citizen to offer support and inform the headquarters accordingly, with the following responsibilities. By visiting the detained citizen, an embassy can usually visit the arrested individual within 72 hours of being notified by the relevant authorities, depending on the distance where the citizen is detained or imprisoned and the location of the embassy. Notifying the family members and provide further information. The embassy staff members will contact the arrested citizen's family to inform them of the situation and share details as obtained by the relevant authorities. Advocating for fair treatment. This has been really a problem to Namibia. When a citizen is arrested out there, we wonder whether this person is receiving the same treatment in that specific prison where the person is detained. So the embassy will make sure that our citizens receive fair treatment according to the local legal system without being discriminated against or denied justice due to his or her nationality. During the visiting period, they check whether the citizen is also receiving medical care if needed and ensure that he or she is being treated fairly and humanly equally to the citizens of the country they are arrested or serving a sentence. They ensure access to legal counsel. While the embassy cannot pay for their legal fees, they can help connect the citizen with a local legal counsel and provide information on legal resources. They do monitor the case. The embassy will monitor the judicial process and provide updates to the family, reporting their visits and any other developments to the government. What is it that the embassy cannot do to the citizen? They cannot interfere with the legal process. It is crucial to understand that embassies cannot interfere with another country's judicial process or seek preferential treatment. The embassy can also not pay fines or bail or force the release of a citizen. They can also not offer legal advice because they are not lawyers. They can also not guarantee freedom in the same way that the embassy's ability to help is limited by the host country's laws and its relationship with the embassy's home country. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, in conclusion, I highlighted the above so that as leaders, we must appreciate our embassies because what they do requires a lot of time. For the third reading, I will still take the floor to have some changes on the bill itself as we are dealing with now, close by close. I support the bill and thank you very much.
Honorable Cooper.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I rise to contribute to the debate on the Mental Health Bill, B8 of 2025. This bill is an important step in updating our legal framework for mental health, especially with the country experiencing high levels of suicide and mental health-linked deaths. However, for us to be effective, we need to ensure that we build a system that protects rights, ensures accountability, and treats people with dignity. The bill brings Namibia closer to international standards, especially the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. It recognizes that mental health care must be based on respect, informed consent, and the least restrictive form of treatment. It also rightfully emphasizes community-based care and establishes review boards for oversight. These are major improvements over the old Mental Health Bill, Health Act 18 of 1973. I was not even born. However, I would like to highlight a few issues and gaps that, if left unaddressed, could limit the bill's effectiveness and weaken the protection of patients' rights. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the creation of mental health review boards is a big positive, but their independence needs strengthening. Under Section 29(2), the Minister has the sole appointing authority for these boards. This can create potential biasness and misuse of power due to centralization. Therefore, we need to recommend and include that the appointment be done in consultation with the Health Council of Namibia, ensuring public accountability rather than inclusive ministerial discretion. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the bills introduce licensing for community-based mental health facilities, which is a progress. But Section 28 does not say much about minimum staffing standards, links with primary health care, or performance reporting. We risk creating a network of under-resourced centers with no accountability and risking a situation where we have facilities that are rent-seeking other than provision of proper health care services. Therefore, we need proper enforcement and licensing requirements. Furthermore, Honorable Speaker, one of the more concerning provisions is found in Section 27, which allows police to apprehend or keep a person with mental illness for up to 72 hours. Keeping individuals in police cells for such a long time instead of a health-based setting is inconsistent with modern human rights principles. These persons require medical attention. Therefore, the police involvement should be limited to escorting these persons on designated facilities under medical supervision. Therefore, we need to review the timelines to at least 12 to 24 hours to ensure proper handling and care. As I conclude, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the bill before us lays a strong foundation to deal with mental health issues, especially in an era of uncertainties. And therefore, I support it from the bottom of my heart, and I so submit.
Thank you. Honorable Aupindi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Minister for a very interesting bill, but definitely not perfect, and there's a lot of room for improvement. But I'm sure as you go on, as these issues are coming up, you can be able to bring us an amendment bill. But I would say that mental health is serious. This form of emotions, psychological and social well-being that affect how you think, feel, and act, and how you cope with life's stress, comes from a variety of conditions arising from many other issues that were already cited by many honorable members here, and I'm not going to repeat them. But there are also other forms and causes of mental health, such as witch hunts. I have known of couples who became depressed because a jealous neighbor started malice, saying they are witch doctors. This turned the entire community against them. They eventually died. They eventually died of stress-related conditions. But even in our society today, there are those who use malice to try and destroy others. This is a serious form of mental health, such as manufacturing rumors about other people in order to bring about reputational damage to someone's character. These all lead to mental health, I'm telling the truth. Globally, Madam Speaker, statistically speaking, shows that male statistics are higher when it comes to suicide, but also that women face harm at the expense of men. 1 in 4 women are not even safe in their own home due to male violence. For them, the threat of these crimes continue behind closed doors. Male violence is in fact the leading cause of tragic death for women worldwide, above road accidents and above war. This is by Amnesty International. 1 in 2 women are sexually harassed at work, again according to Amnesty International. And for those of us parents with girl children, the reality is that 1 in 3 girls will be sexually assaulted before their 16th birthday. These are statistics by Amnesty International. And the whole process is now even moved on to boys. Black women face a double-edged knife because of being women and because of being black. Economic structure is brutally curving against women. The environment in which women are sometimes working is very violent, even in a perfect world. So a greater part of the world, including Namibia today, somehow still view women as not so equal. That all men somehow are created equal, but some are more equal than others. But perhaps what is shocking is that women are sometimes their own worst enemies. Sometimes. As a former CEO, I can testify that I've observed that women are more likely to be unhappy when another woman succeeds, or even talk down on them. But perhaps what is sad is that around the world, 1 woman dies every 90 seconds in pregnancy and childbirth. That's more than 350,000 women every year. The vast majority of these deaths are not merely due to a lack of proper healthcare system, but also due to an unhealthy mental state. But what is eating the bean, Honorable Member, is actually inside the bean itself. Many mental problems arise from a myth, and it's a myth, Honorable Member, which has been around for centuries, which was spread from generation to generation, that men are superior to women. Now, this is of course further from the truth. But what this myth has done is help in building and consolidating what they call a men's world. And a men's world, honorable members, can refer to the idiom describing a male-dominated society. This concept is also linked to societal expectation, placing men such as being the primary provider, which can lead to pressure and a feeling of inadequacy if not met. For example, I can tell you, women has been turned, the woman as a crafted human being by God has been turned into the #1 ultimate male champion. Empowerment from a historical perspective. For example, a mother will go out shopping for her baby girl, buys clothes that are associated with pink, which actually signifies emotional being, softness. Buys and buy utensils, dolls, pots, cutlery, to actually justify and encourage her girls to help out in the kitchen. This over time psychological effect crafts the psychological effect that women are actually in service for who? It's for men. This is how you start crafting psychological effect. And at the same time, the same mother goes out and buys for her male child toys that are cars, guns, helicopters, affirming that you are in government, you are in charge, you are in superiority, you are in engineering. This psychological myths have been around for centuries, and they are creating one of the centerpieces of what is wrong in our society today. And again, some men believe that, and this is at the crack of one of them. Some men believe that when a woman is appointed in a position of power, like a CEO in a board, then that woman is actually empowered. However, a woman in a position of power works for the agenda of shareholders and not for women empowerment. And it's not enough to just appoint women in position of power if the agenda remains the same. So empowering women are sometimes also, like those women who are empowered are sometimes also scared because the agenda is for maximizing shareholders' return on investment. They are scared, and I'm speaking as a captain of industry, and they are scared to also somehow empower others because they don't want to spoil it for themselves. The economic society is skewed. So, and this double standards, in my conclusion, creates a myth somehow that when you craft a project like such as a water tap in the community, that is somehow empowering women. While as when you are having a government tender or a project, that is for women. These are systems that we need to deconstruct in our society if we have to win the war on mental health. So the issue, Madam Speaker, lastly, the issue of mental health must be looked at not only from an emotional and a psychological effect, but also must be looked at from a strategic point of view, because it is within the strategy where things go wrong. It is structural, and therefore societal cure can only totally happen from a point of view of deconstructing certain structures within the society and within the mind, including hereditary patterns, cultural setting, in order to create a positive mind which is actually in alignment with its own infinite nature. And I support the bill, and I thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Katembe Siwa. I saw that Honorable Kalola was paying attention. Yes, now Honorable Kachingi Siwa
Yes,
has the floor.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, can we give attention here?
Yes. Please.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I rise to express my gratitude to the Honorable Minister of Health and Social Services, Dr. Esperanza Lubindao, for tabling this long-awaited mental health bill, which will transform the mental health spectrum in our country. From the onset, allow me to reiterate a fundamental World Health Organization definition, which enhancing the understanding of the health in a nutshell, and I quote, "Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity." Therefore, honorable members and the nation out there, take note that there will never be health without mental health, as our mental health is important,
Yes.
as our physical health.
Yes.
Honorable members, Honorable Speaker,
She's right.
this bill is replacing a very outdated Inhuman Act, the Mental Health Act number 18 of 1973, which we inherited from the apartheid South Africa. Just imagine, since 1994, South Africa repealed that law and had second amendment to their Reform Mental Health Act. This is the quest of defining, aligning, and improving on the understanding that mental illness is not any longer than insane, isolated, and shame we know. The reality is that it affects all of us without discrimination. The latest statistics says it that in every 4 people, one will suffer from mental disorder. Imagine that in this August House, out of 104 members, 26 or more could experience mild, severe mental conditions.
Oh, yes.
Yes, that is the research. This bill is addressing important issues of relevance to any country in the 21st century, and it is conformity with various international legal instruments to which Namibia is signatory. I, however, would like to discuss a very pertinent aspect which is being debated heavily in social media since the introduction of this bill by the Honorable Minister. The issue mental health in the workplace has a bigger misinterpretation, as many are looking to the extreme of mental issue, but not to the reality of our daily life. The ILO is explaining the importance of employment of people with mental illness as follows, and I quote, that people with mental illness should be employed because work can be protective factor for mental health, providing income, a sense of purpose, a social connection, which can promote recovery. Employment is linked to improve self-esteem and social functioning, and keeping people in the workplace avoids long-term unemployed and associated discouragement. Additionally, safe and healthy work environments can improve productively and the right to work as a fundamental right. Giving a footnote to this important statement of the ILO, the fact that we live in the fast-changing modern working life that places pressing demands in the both scientific and technological advances in the workplace. Unfortunately, the number of people who are employed having any mental condition or those who lost their job due mental illness are not known in many development countries. This is because they are not able to document an era of research or work-related stress, and the fact that employees are increasingly familiar with conditions and how to manage this. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, there are a number of international external factors that increase work-related stress, such as job insecurity, cultural aspects defining perceived relations, low remunerations, long working hours, and lack or no coverage of occupational insurance. In a study conducted to determine the relationship between work-related stress and the presence of symptoms of mental disorders among police officers in Italy, revealed that depression, anxiety, and burnout were observed. Developing chronic fatigue secondary to chronic stress at the workplace is among the main risk factors for developing anxiety, depression, and substance abuse. This law will be essential to address the workplace discrimination and stigma against people with mental illness. People with mental health problems reporting being turned down for a job, and many of them decide to look for work because they anticipate a level of discrimination. If they get employment, workplace attitudes towards mental illness make a big difference for their integration and productivity at work. Thus, the World Health Organization of 2002 recommends that workplace mental health policies should be in place. The workplace can be a better place where employees with mental disorders can be productive members of a team only if mental health and well-being in the workplace take center stage. Access to care needs to be devised caring system with support from within the workplace to accelerate the reduction of stigma and discrimination against those with mental illness. The organizational personal resilience combined with comprehensive mental health policies and plans have great potential and great better workplace for people with mental illness. Honorable members, honorable Speaker, in conclusion, the concern being raised that these employees with B might be harmful to others at the workplace is being addressed like any with other illness. You can't take a burden employee to work the same way you can't take an employee with a mental breakdown episode to work. I have a testimony of productive, able-bodied Namibian with mental illness for decades. who are contributing positively to the development of our country. So, with this, I support the bill. Yes.
I think it's break time now. We have like 2 minutes to break time. So I think we can rise now and come back at 16 hours. Now we proceed. There was a list of MPs still wanting to speak on the mental health bill, but I see the list is no longer there. Okay, I see Honorable Mongo. She now has the floor.
Madam Speaker, I've made my contribution. I rise to postpone to next week, Tuesday, on behalf of Honorable George Kambala.
Okay, I see there are still 2 MPs on the list. Okay, let's first hear them. Yeah? Point of privilege. Okay, Honorable Ante.
Yeah, Speaker, I just want to possibly be educated as well. That how do I postpone on behalf of another member? I just want to understand that concept. That I can stand and speak on behalf of another member in this August House.
With confidence.
How does it happen? Yeah, I'm not comfortable with that.
Who's Kambala? Oh, what are we discussing now?
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Are we not on the same thing?
Okay, maybe let me postpone my ruling on that one until we have heard from the 2 members that are on the list. Yeah, no, that one, there is no ruling on it while the 2 honorable members are on the floor. Okay.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I rise in support of the Mental Health Bill. I express my full support for the Mental Health Bill, which seeks to reform, modernize and strengthen Namibia's mental health legal framework in order to ensure accessible, equitable and right-based mental health care for all Namibians. The existing Mental Health Act number 18 of 1973, is outdated and no longer aligned with Namibia's constitutional and international human rights obligation. Bill 8 of 2025 introduces a comprehensive and modern approach to mental health governance, policy implementation and patient protection. This bill recognizes that mental health is a critical component of public health and social well-being, and that reform is necessary to end stigma and promote the technology. Sorry, Minister. Sorry, Speaker. It jumps the technology.
It's okay, Honorable. We shouldn't be frightened.
Okay, the bill recognizes that mental health is a critical component of public health and social well-being, and that reform is necessary to end stigma and promote community-based care. I particularly support the following provisions contained in the bill. Section 3, the establishment of a National Mental Health Directorate to oversee and coordinate a mental health service in the country. The protection of rights, dignity and privacy of all persons receiving mental health care, ensuring their freedom from discrimination and inhuman treatment. The provision for voluntarily and assisted admission into mental health facilities subject to informed consent and oversight. The regulation of involuntarily admission and treatment providing strong safeguard, independent review and time-bound authorization to prevent abuse. The establishment of a community-based mental health programs integrated into primary health care service to improve access and continuity of care. The creation of a mental health review board to handle complaints, protect patient rights and ensure compliance with the Act. The duties of the Minister to promote mental health awareness, prevention and education across the sector. I only mentioned the first section, but I decided to skip the sections. The reason of my support for this bill is the mental health challenges affects families, workplaces, schools and communities across Namibia, cutting across age, gender and social class. Reforming the legal framework through the Bill 8 of 2025 ensures that Namibia upholds the principle of dignity, equality and non-discrimination enshrined in our constitution. The bill brings Namibia into alignment with international standards such as the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and the World Health Organization Comprehensive Mental Health Action Plan 2023 to 2030. The effective mental health legislation will strengthen service delivery, resource allocation, and workforce development, leading to a healthier, more productive society. In conclusion, I therefore move that this Honourable House adopts and support the bill, which is the Mental Health Bill, and that the relevant standing committee expedite its deliberations, conduct nationwide consultations, and report back to Parliament with recommendations for its prompt enactment. And I thank you.
Thank you. I recognize Honorable Nanyeni.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, Honorable Nekundi on point of privilege.
All right, thank you.
Comrade Speaker, just seeking your indulgence, I have been observing that this very important bill, everybody who took the floor are saying is very important, very urgent, situation of dire situation, and hearing what everybody is saying, members here, it seems that we really want to see these things being rolled out in actual law. And cognizance that the National Council, it's set, I think next week is the last, can we possibly come to a concurrence, seeking through you, Mr. Speaker, that we, unless there's a divergent view to what is in here, that we possibly move to the committee stage, if everybody agrees to that, so that this bill that we are all saying is important, and there's no divergent view, we put it through quickly and then go to the National Council before they close, and they become a law, because otherwise we must wait for next year, March somewhere there. So yes, the indulgence, if it's acceptable, but I don't want to disturb the flow of the House, Mr. Speaker.
Are we 49?
Honorable Member, I think it is possible that the members can consult and agree to deal with an item that is on the order paper. The unfortunate situation that we have seen is that we actually do not use that platform. We only come here and we attack one another, but we can, through the chief whips, consult. And then we make it possible for the order paper to be arranged in such a way that we go through the different stages of the bill as prescribed under the rules. So yes, that is possible, but the presiding officer cannot just impose it on the House. So if there is that view, let the honorable members consult amongst themselves. That would then mean any deferment would have to be to a date that is not, later than what would be agreed. Should be the date by which we should finalize the bill. Okay. Yes, then we proceed. The Honorable Nanyeni had the floor.
Honorable Speaker, I concur with Honorable Nekundi, so I will withdraw my contribution. Thank you.
Yes, and the honorable members, I'm reminded that the National Council would rise on the 6th, on the 6th of November, and we just barely made it to have the appropriation bill tabled. But I think the point is still relevant as a principle. To say that we don't have to keep things here for longer than we need to. Yeah. So if no one is really proposing a change, a significant change from what is being proposed, we can expedite the finalization of the debates on issues. Okay. So now I have Honorable April. You can just support.
Do you have anything different? You must supporting.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I actually am definitely supporting the bill. But I need to contribute definitely also below 5 minutes because I'm just standing with a small paper in front of me. I think if we talk about mental health, Madam Speaker, it comes with cultural and traditional beliefs and belief systems. What we are made to believe when we are young and how we are raised is also an area where mental health issues could already be positioned, for the lack of a better English word. And therefore my take would be that addressing mental health on the level that we discuss now is not sufficient in my view. Somehow, somewhere through a relevant committee, we need to engage those that are responsible for the traditional cultural systems and belief systems to be engaged so they can also add their voice towards this very important debate. The other one, or bill rather, the other one, Madam Speaker, is also a very troubling one for me. Churches are mushrooming, and religious doctrines and how certain texts in the Bible are exegeted also contributes to mental health issues as we are experiencing them.
They're confusing the society.
Therefore, Madam Speaker, with all due respect, without trying to be diminutive of any religious view, I believe that those systems also entrenched in these religious bodies needs to be engaged through a relevant committee so that we can have their voice also added. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, this is now something that really troubles me big time. And this is the current, the contemporary. We are trying to solve mental health issues, but in the meantime, we are also creating new ones. The women empowerment thing is not properly managed and creates a misunderstanding or misconstruing possibility from the side of men. And therefore, the sporadic presence of violence against women also comes because of the new understanding of how men are to understand their role of providing leadership. Therefore, I want to talk to the minister responsible for the mental health to help us, the men.
Why are you sitting there?
We, the men, must be helped because currently we are discombobulated. Thank you so much, my speaker. That's my humble contribution. But the bill I support.
Thank you. Thank you, honorable member. Yeah, I see now that there is no one on the floor anymore. There was a ruling that was pending, but what is important, maybe before we deal with the ruling, is to say that when there is a motion moved to defer discussion on an item that is on the order paper, a confirmation has to be made whether that is agreeable with everyone in the House, including the member who moved the motion, in this specific case being the minister responsible for health. That is one. Number two, I have observed that on a number of issues, we have made rulings on the basis of practice. There are a number of issues for which there is no prescription, like it's not directly provided for under the rules, but as a matter of practice, we have allowed that. So on the basis of that practice, we have allowed members to put questions on behalf of other members or to not put questions, so that even when the minister is available to answer, the question is not put, but the other member is not in the House, and we have continued that way. So maybe what we need to do is to hear from the minister whether she agrees that the debate is deferred until next week, Tuesday, hoping also that when we come on Tuesday, we try to conclude because what we have to note is that so far we have only passed the appropriation bill and the midterm review of the bill. And when items are brought to this House, there is anticipation in the public that issues that are of interest to them would be dealt with conclusively. So I also, Honorable Minister. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Member, I think with all due respect, though, because I do want us to reach a common understanding, I suppose my question would just be to agree to say, look, at the end of the day, we do want to finalize this as soon as possible because it is a very important bill. And there are a lot of items that we would like to set in motion with the passing of the bill and getting that done. Also, we want to know that we have the concurrence of the House because it's a very important matter before we start executing. With that said, I suppose my question to the Honourable Member, with all respect, would be to say, is there perhaps something different that the Honourable Member would like to bring up? If there is not, and it has already been raised, and we can find sort of a concurrence, I would propose, Honourable Speaker, if we can conclude the matter, I am ready to respond to the questions.
And what probably is important to say is that we will go to committee stage. And the Honourable Member would still have the opportunity to raise, specific issues that he may have. Okay, so in that regard, we can agree that we conclude the general debate on the bill, so that next week we go to the next stage. Very good. Thank you very much for your understanding. So here, where were we? It's Honourable Swartboy. If no further discussion, that the Honourable Minister of Health and Social Services wish to reply.
Yes, Honourable Speaker. Thank you for the opportunity to reply and respond to the questions. There were some that were more comments and more contributions as to how we can approach mental health in the country, of which we agree on a lot of these comments. It is fair to say that when this was raised, there has been an overwhelming sense of sort of a direction that we all agree that mental health is important and that we do need to find a way forward that allows for us to put the people first. With that said, I will answer the points that were questions as opposed to commenting on the suggestions as a whole. Honourable Speaker, one question: which stakeholders were consulted or involved before bringing the bill to Parliament? This is a very good question, however, self-explanatory in that the process of this bill actually started years ago. In the year 2006 were the first consultations that were had, consultative with regions, regional health management teams, governors, councillors. The second stakeholder engagement meeting happened in the year 2009 in the Oshikoto region, where NAMPOL, Namibian Correctional Services, regional social workers, hospital staff, and the likes, as well as community members, were represented. The WHO country office provided input to the draft bill in 2014 and then again in 2018. A third consultative session, which was a two-day stakeholders session with all line ministries, including patients, families, church leaders, was conducted in November 2018. Again in 2018, the law reform facilitated a consultation meeting with the Office of the High Court and the Judiciary, the Namibian Correctional Services, Office of the Prosecutor General, as well as NAMPOL. In 2019, a benchmark visit to South Africa was conducted. The country was selected based on major cultural similarities between the two countries. It is also important to note that there were numerous consultations had from the year 2006 until now, and therefore we feel that adequate consultations have taken place. Number two, how do community members sound the alarm in communities when they suspect signs of mental health illness in community members? Now, with the fact that we understand how this question was posed, what we do just want to clarify is that people with mental health issues or suffering from mental health conditions are not what we would call dangerous or unwelcome in society. And so the bill makes provision that a person with a mental health issue who can make rational decisions is afforded the opportunity to seek voluntary medical health care. If the person does not have the ability to make rational decisions, that is where then the bill makes provisions and allows that if a person poses a danger to him or herself or others and their property, that the person can be admitted for involuntary mental health care. Example, a family member, social worker, or other persons in relationship with the person can apply to a designated mental health care facility or hospital to ensure that the person is admitted to a health care facility. According to Section 75(1), a mental health practitioner, family member of a patient, affected party, or member of the public may request assistance from the Namibian Police Force if a patient is aggressive or unmanageable in that sense. Then a question regarding, does the bill make provision for age-appropriate housing of patients? There was a 16-year-old who lost their life in northern Namibia after being housed with an older patient with a mental health illness who murdered him. Does the bill make provision to place teenagers with other teenagers and the likes? Yes, there is a provision or provisions that compel the superintendent of a designated mental health facility to ensure age-appropriate ward for patients. See, for instance, in the definition of age group and categorization, age group means an age grouping in the following categories: A, younger than 6, B, older than 6 years but younger than 12, C, older than 12 years but younger than 18 years, or D, 18 years and older. Furthermore, subsection 6 provides patients in the same age group must be housed in the same wards or areas within a mental health facility and receive mental health care appropriate for their age group. The next question, Honourable Speaker. A person cannot handle someone of the opposite gender, presumably due to the possibility of sexual assault. What happens in the case of men that are interested in other men or women interested in other women, where there is still a possibility of sexual assault despite being of the same gender? It is important to note here that a consideration or a suggestion was made to insert a caveat in this particular area of the bill. A person employed in a health facility, including a community-based mental health care facility, may not subject to subjection take personal custody of any patient of the opposite gender or to personally restrain such patient except under the continual supervision of a person of the same gender as the patient and on the instructions of the head of that facility. This is the normal operating procedure to preserve the dignity of patients. It is also found in certain law enforcement rules. This section does not specifically deal with sexual assault and is intended for the reason as aforesaid. Protection against sexual abuse is covered under Section 12, subsection 3, prohibition of exploitation or abuse, which states that every person, body or health facility providing mental health care to a patient must take steps to ensure that such patient is protected from exploitation or abuse, including physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and financial exploitation or any degrading treatment. It is important to note at this particular point that every person, body, or health facility providing mental health care to a patient must take steps to ensure that such patient is protected from exploitation, as I've mentioned. Furthermore, the Act, once enacted, must be read and interpreted together with the Constitution and relevant laws which prohibit gender-based violence and the combating of rape. However, it is important to note that the Honourable Member's suggestions regarding possible contributions and inserting a caveat has been noted and will be discussed further at committee stage. Next question, Section 11 states that one cannot discriminate for employment based on mental health illness of an individual. This can be used to state that even people with severe mental health illness who are unable to work effectively should still be employed. Now, on this particular point, I will answer the question, but I also just wish to state, similarly as the previous question, considerations have been made to further discuss as committee stage. Now, it is important to note that ultimately, the definition provides a lot of room for misinterpretation. Since persons with severe mental health illness who cannot make informed decisions about themselves and others will have been admitted for involuntary or assisted mental health care. Persons with mental health illness who are adherent to treatment and whose illness is controlled on treatment can still be employed based on the recommendation of the assessor. Now, these assessments can be made in respect with occupational health, disability, ill assessments, as well as medical boarding when necessary, as well as resigning based on work fitness. Now, with respect to the caveat proposed by the Honourable Member, as I stated, this has been considered, but perhaps will be discussed further in committee stage because of those differences in interpretation. Number 6, there is a request for a grammatical amendment requesting that where the bill speaks of offences in connection with patients who abscond, the word unknowingly should be added, as at times a community member may be asked to give a lift to someone that has a mental health illness, meanwhile they are absconding, and this community member was not aware of this when he or she gave the lift. Honourable Speaker, perhaps understanding what the question is, perhaps what would be important to insert there is that a community member may not knowingly provide in the instance that this is a patient that has absconded. Question number 7, is there provision within the bill that within 6 months a mental health implementation plan is published? The bill needs to be implemented in phases and will be implemented in phases. Now, it is important to note that despite the financial implications and due to financial implications as well as available infrastructure, it is important to note that this bill ultimately states where we want to be as a country and where we should be. Now, with that said, we keep well in mind that yes, we need to increase the amount of money that is allocated towards mental health. We agree on that. And there are a lot of changes that must be brought, particularly when it comes to mental health. However, it is noted that once again, this is the desired place where we want to be as a country, and it will be implemented in phases. Number 8, does the bill address interministerial collaboration? Indeed it does, Honourable Speaker. With reference to Section 8, the bill makes provision for the promotion of mental health in collaboration with other sectors. With reference to specific provisions, all health facilities must adopt policies and utilize public health education to promote mental health in all areas of public life. The Minister may conclude an agreement to coordinate and harmonize the exercise of jurisdiction over matters relating to patients within the relevant sector or sectors in which interactions with patients occur, and to secure the consistent applications of the provisions of this Act. In addition to the matters contemplated in subsection 2, an agreement in terms of that subsection must identify and establish the provisions for the management of areas of concurrent jurisdiction, promote cooperation between and training of staff members of the Ministry and staff members of other ministries, offices and agencies pertaining to mental health to enable them to engage or interact with patients in an appropriate manner, regulate the promotion of mental health in various public sectors, and provide for the exchange of information and the protection of confidential information. Number 9, which part of the bill addresses prevention measures as well as health education? This is covered in Section 8. The bill makes provision for the promotion of mental health education and relationship with other sectors. All health facilities must adopt policies and utilize public health education to promote mental health in all areas of public life. The Ministry regulates the promotion of mental health in various public sectors. Number 10, are there plans to digitize the mental health system to ensure alignment with global standards? The Ministry has been actively engaged in the introduction and the implementation of e-health to transform the country's health system and work towards universal health coverage. Therefore, the Ministry has a national e-health strategy, which, although expiring in 2025, this document serves as a guide and roadmap for how information and communication technologies will contribute to health system transformation. This strategy is inclusive, and I wish to highlight that the Ministry is actively engaged with the process of digitizing the healthcare system and not just mental health. So we've received other complaints such as patient records. Why are patient records still on paper? The cards are still being used, the cards get lost, the cards run out of stock. And so there are numerous complaints that require digitization and not just mental health. And therefore, the Ministry is not looking at it in terms of mental health on its own, but is looking at for better efficiency and to allow us to operate in a more effective manner, digitizing the system. The digital health policy has now been finalized and will be launched soon. We are now working on the bill as well. And we would like to note that the actual process of digitizing the system is, we see it in the near future. With the next question, subsection 12, subsection 3 speaks to financial exploitation, and this should be defined. It was noted in response that ordinary words with ordinary meanings do not usually have to be defined, and the words are used in their ordinary dictionary meaning, Therefore, a definition would not be necessary, but once again, this can also be taken up further within committee stage. Section 12, subsection 5 imposes too many bureaucratic reporting mechanisms. Persons should be required to report to one party mentioned. On this point, I agree 100%. Number 12, does the bill make provision for the separation of patients with various conditions? Why do we house patients, for example, with MDD, which is major depressive disorder, and schizophrenia, for example, together? Some conditions may be more severe than others, requiring them to be separated. Honorable Speaker, currently, the separation of patients based on diagnosis or condition severity is limited by inadequate infrastructure and space constraints, which should not be a valid reason per se. The understanding that patients must be separated exists. Now, the mental health unit, as well as the ministry and all partners, are engaged in efforts to ensure appropriate placement of patients, but very importantly, working to ensure that the infrastructure that we have and that we are now building meets these needs and speaks to the needs that have been echoed in the bill. Multiple patients in the prisons have mental health illnesses. Will any training be provided to offer teaching to officers to know how to handle and work with these particular inmates? The Ministry of Health and Social Services has conducted a series of training for the City of Windhoek Police, Namibian Police, and correctional officers on basic mental health skills, mental health screening, psychological first aid, and managing mental health emergencies, including handling aggressive patients and applying de-escalation techniques. To date, at least 50 City of Windhoek police officers, 150 national police officers, and 75 correctional officers have been trained. Is this enough? No. However, it is important to note that training has commenced in order to ensure that they are well skilled to be able to take care of inmates that may have such conditions. Number 14, will the list of conditions that are classified as mental health illnesses be provided in the regulations? The bill includes in its definition of terms the consideration of the term mental illness, but does not have a definition of a list of conditions that are classified as mental illnesses. The mental health regulations that will be drafted, that are already being drafted, incorporate a list of common mental health illnesses as well as their definitions. It is also important to remember that oftentimes these are changing. There are certain things that were previously considered as mental health conditions which are no longer, and therefore placing them within the Act complicates it, as opposed to placing it with the regulations where it can consistently be amended where necessary according to DSM-5 and others. With that said, number 15, where in the bill does it state the specifications of the new standard that all mental health facilities must adhere to? Honorable Speaker, in responding to this, in section 5 stipulates the minister must, as soon as possible after the commencement of this act in writing, designate a health facility or part of such health facility administered under the auspices of the state as a mental health facility, and that the minister may revoke or vary a designation referred to in subsection 1 at any time. Despite subsection 1, a mental health facility other than a health facility administered under the auspices of the state may provide mental health care. To ensure appropriate standard, the Ministry of Health and Social Services makes reference to the WHO International Health Facility Guidelines. These guidelines are to be followed or adhered to by any country when constructing new health facilities, including mental health facilities. The Ministry of Health and Social Services will also consider including the provisions of the International Health Facility Guidelines in the mental health regulations. Then, Honourable Speaker, the few questions from today. One of the questions mentioned the bill leaving out important conditions like postpartum depression, etc. I believe I answered that question now by stating that no particular conditions are mentioned in the bill, particularly because of the fact that the conditions that are prescribed as mental health conditions are consistently changing based on international classification. And because of that, those are rather listed in regulations as opposed to a bill. With that said, it is also noted a question was posed regarding the minister being responsible for appointing the review boards. This risks the concentration of power with the minister alone, further risks of subjectivity and biases. This has been noted and taken into consideration and can also be taken up once again in committee stage. With that said, Honourable Speaker, Honourable Members, I thank you for the contributions that have been made to the bill. They have been noted, including the recommendations for how we can improve mental health in the country. And because of that, all the contributions have been taken, keeping well in mind that we all have the same goal for mental health in Namibia. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. I now put the question that the bill be read a second time. Any objections? Then it's agreed to. The Secretary will read the bill a second time. The Secretary will read the third order of the day.
Resumption of debate on second reading, Public Enterprises Governance Amendment Bill.
When this Assembly adjourned on Tuesday, 7th of October 2025, the question before the Assembly was a motion by the Honourable Minister of Urban and Rural Development that the bill be read a second time. Is that the correct one? That's Public Enterprises, ne? Yeah. Yeah, okay, I think there is a problem in this one. So that was the bill by the Right Honourable Prime Minister. Now I'm trying to look for who deferred. It was automatic adjournment.
The third item, it is this one.
But I think he read Public Enterprises. I think when say the order of the day that was read. So there was a challenge here with our system. So when we rose on automatic adjournment, and the item that was under discussion was the Public Enterprises Governance Amendment Bill that was sponsored by the Right Honourable Prime Minister. And now we continue with the discussion. Any further discussions on that one? Dr. Aupindi, Honourable Aupindi?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'll be very brief, but I'll also be speaking from a point of view of someone who has both been executing executive power at an SOE and also someone who has been a lawmaker looking at it from both sides. So, but I would like to say that given this trajectory under the framework, the Windhoek Observer article dated 24th September 2025, the Namibian Chamber of Commerce and Industry reported last year that compliance with PEGA was improving through some enterprise initially struggling. Given this trajectory under the current framework administered by the Ministry of Finance, previously the Ministry of Finance and Public Enterprise, what specific failure or deficiency in the 2019 Act necessitated this wholesale transfer of authority? And I say wholesale because I'll be justifying my contribution. Can perhaps empirical evidence be provided demonstrating that current ministerial arrangements have thus failed? Or is this amendment not driven by governance? I'm just failing to get that point, because let's face it, we have been here before. If you look at before the proclamation of the PEGA, the promulgation of the PEGA, it used to be Central Governance Agency, which used to be in the Prime Minister's office. And that system was deemed to be inefficient, and therefore the PEGA came into play. And then you have the issue, for example, of capacity and resource implication for the office of the Prime Minister. Because the original PEGA of 2019 designated a dedicated Ministry of Public Enterprise, which was dissolved in 2022. And subsequently, the Ministry of Finance and Public Enterprise to oversee 77 public enterprises, so 26 of which are now under line ministries. Does The OPM currently possesses, for example, the technical capabilities, specialized personnel, and institutional framework and infrastructure to effectively oversee the governance framework, performing monitoring and financial analysis, and compliance mechanism for dozens of diverse state-owned enterprises. What budget allocation has been made for this expanded mandate? How many additional staff members, which public enterprises governance expertise will be recruited, for example, to the OPM to fulfill this mandate? And then the clarity itself lies into the fact that, honorable members, a fundamental principle of legislative drafting is amendment should address identified deficiencies in existing law. What is the perceived deficiencies that this amendment bill seeks to remedy? The bill specifically transfers powers from the minister responsible for public enterprise to the PM, yet the explanatory document provides no diagnostic analysis of governance failures, for example, scandals, performance deficiency, or systematic breakdown, just to mention a few. Under the current arrangement, as we are to understand that this is a solution in search of a problem, or can we have the specific governance crisis articulated that demand centralized control within the SOE community? And then there is a contradiction with the decentralizing policy in itself. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the NBC online article of 22 September 2025, Honorable Speaker, I was only given 10 minutes, I need 15. 2025 states that the PEGA amendments are part of a broader reform to improve SOE governance by dissolving the central ministry of the public enterprise and decentralizing oversight to sector ministries. Yet this amendment bill does the opposite. It centralizes in an unprecedented way. Section 4, for example, as amended, grants the Prime Minister authority to determine board composition issues, binding directives with force of law. The new Section 4(7)(a) approves strategic plans, investment policies, and dividend policies for all public enterprises. How does one reconcile this centralization of power with the stated policy objective of decentralizing in ministries? Is this not a fundamental contradiction in itself? I'm just pointing out anomaly as a CEO. Now, operational inefficiency and dual approval systems. If you look at honorable members, the amendment bill creates cumbersome multi-layered approval processes. For example, Section 21 talks about dividend. It starts with the relevant minister, then it goes to the Prime Minister for scrutiny, then it goes to the Minister of Finance for concurrent. Now, Section 23, 3A, 3B, investment, relevant, it starts with the relevant minister, it goes to the Minister of Finance for concurrency, or if the Minister of Finance is, then it goes to the relevant minister and the Prime Minister for consultation and joint approval. Section 13, strategic plan, starts with the board, then the relevant minister, any minister with substantial interest, and then back to the relevant minister for approval. Now, the principal issue is that the bureaucratic decision-making process is what actually created a mess of SOE in the first place. So how will these bureaucratic layers improve efficiency when public enterprise already struggle with delayed decision-making? I could have thought that a comparative analysis is provided showing how long approval currently takes versus projected timelines under this multi-approval system. Will this not paralyze commercial public enterprises competing in dynamic markets where investment decisions must be taken immediately? Now, the legal clarity, again, you have the Right Honourable Prime Minister and then you have the relevant minister. The two roles are clashing in the bill itself. Honourable members, the amendment bill creates significant ambiguity. One, defining relevant minister as the minister responsible for the sector under which public enterprise primarily operates, Section 1. Number 2, transferring most powers previously held by the minister to the Prime Minister. That's Section 2A. Yet, inserting new Section 4A, giving relevant minister the power to represent the state's ownership interest and approve strategic plan budgets, and remuneration. These are just really operational ambiguities that I am seeing creating a serious anomaly and therefore creating more bureaucracy and then less performance. So who has for example, who has the ultimate authority when the Prime Minister's directive, for example, under Section 41E, conflicts with the relevant minister's section in sector-specific judgment under Section 4A1. The bill provides no hierarchy or dispute resolution mechanism. In practical terms, for example, honorable members, if the Minister of Mines approved a strategic plan for NAMCO, but the Office of the Prime Minister issued a contradictory directive, whose decision prevails then? These are just few anomalies that I'm finding in the draft bill. Now, going forward, honorable members, the new subtitle 7A provides that directive issued must be published in the Gazette, and such directives have the force of law. Now, this could be an extension of legislative processes, but that is, of course, debatable. And then the weakening of a competitive recruitment processes. Honorable members, the original Section 8 required staff members designated by the Minister to prepare a comprehensive report with the recommendation based on qualifications, expertise, and suitability for board appointments. However, this amendment, Section 8, replaces this with a vaguely defined recruitment committee, and more alarming, instead new Section 8(1)A, allowing relevant minister to appoint up to 2 board members without any competitive process for filling vacancies. So these are just, I think, things that are fundamental to good governance. This may not improve good governance when it opens the door to appointments without oversight. So the 2019 Act requirements for competitive assessment was designed to actually ensure merit-based appointment. So, and then retrospective validation, again, on the retrospective validation, honorable members, Section 21B of the amendment bill insert a highly difficult Section 42(9). And it said anything done by the relevant minister and the minister responsible for finance or the Prime Minister in respect of a commercial public enterprise from the 21st of March 2025 until the commencement of this act is deemed to have been done by the minister responsible for public enterprise in accordance with the provision of this act and is valid. This is retrospective validation that I'm talking about, Honorable Speaker. Clause covering action taken before proposed law exists. So maybe I think what you do in terms of good governance and the law is that we should have been provided with those decisions that were taken so that we're able now to validate that process. Otherwise, the law does not necessarily allow for anything illegal to have happened and be validated. I'm just talking about the issues that are making it very, very difficult. So retrospective validation typically used to cure legal defects in past administrative action. So what defect are we actually curing here? And last year, as I conclude, there is the limitation of liability. There is a limitation of liability. Neither the relevant minister or the Prime Minister or any person engaged in carrying out any provision of this act is liable in retrospective in respect of anything done or omitted in good faith, not attributed to intent or neglect in the exercise of power or performance of a duty or function under or by virtue of this act, or in respect of anything that may have resulted thereof. So this may actually contradict, it's a matter of legal debate, but may contradict the actual constitution in itself, because the republic is established as a sovereign, secular, democratic, and unitary state, founded, first of all, as it said, on the rule of law, democracy, and justice. So the immunity in that bill is only given to the head of state. The immunity in that bill is only given to the head of state. I see it contradicting that. And then, as I conclude, 4B, I agree with 4B only as far as C is probably concerned. I do agree on the acquisition of assets. The acquisition of assets is good because it grows the balance sheet of the government and the government-owned enterprises. But I do not agree on the asset disposal as far as, because I understand on general asset disposal, when you are disposing a car, it's okay. However, if it borders on dissolving of state assets in a form of companies that was formed with money appropriated by the National Assembly and Parliament, then the National Assembly, I think, as the representative should know. And Air Namibia is a point in time. Air Namibia is a point in time. So we need to actually be informed when a serious asset that was appropriated by finances from here is being disposed. And then concluding, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, this amendment bill represents a fundamental restructuring of state-owned enterprises governance in Namibia. Yet I could feel that it's an attempt, but I think it can be better. A comprehensive white paper probably diagnosing failures in the current system, stakeholder consultation report from public enterprises, boards, or civil societies, regulatory impact assessment analyzing costs, benefits, and risks, and then a comparative analysis with international best practice in SOE governance. I so submit, and I thank you very much.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I rise in full support of the Public Enterprise Governance Bill. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the purpose of this bill is to strengthen the governance, accountability and performance of our public enterprises in line with the national development goals and the principles of transparency and efficiency. The bill seeks to provide a coherent legislative framework for the oversight, management and evaluation of public enterprises. Sorry. The bill, yes. Through this bill, mechanisms are introduced to enhance the role of the shareholder representatives, ensure merit-based appointments to boards, and to promote financial sustainability and operational efficiency within our state-owned enterprises. It further establishes clear lines of accountability between the line ministries, boards, and management of these enterprises. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, public enterprises are vital instruments for national development. They drive industrialization, create employment, and deliver essential service to our people. However, in the past, challenges such as weak governance, duplication of oversight functions, and financial mismanagement have hindered their effectiveness. This bill provides the legal clarity and governance structure needed to address these challenges decisively. By supporting this bill, I affirm our commitment to ensure that our public enterprises operate with integrity, professionalism, and in the best interest of the Namibian people. We also ensure alignment with the Vision 2030, the Harambee Prosperity Plan, and our industrialization agenda. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I therefore move that this Honorable House adopts and support the Public Enterprise Governance Bill for the benefit of effective governance, economic growth, and the sustainable development of the Republic of Namibia, and I so submit.
Thank you. Honorable,
but why is these things jumping?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, I seek the gratification of the House to postpone this. Because I thought the Prime Minister would be here. Just want to consult on something, but I want to postpone to Tuesday.
Okay, any objection?
None.
Okay, so the discussions on the bill are deferred until Tuesday next week. The Secretary will read the fourth order of the day.
Resumption of debate on second reading, Land Bill.
When this Assembly adjourned on Wednesday, the 8th of October, 2025, the question before the Assembly was a motion by the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Land Reform that the bill be read a second time. Any further discussions? Honorable Narusep.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The land issue in Africa, honorable members, and particularly in Namibia, is a very painful experience that our forefathers had to go through. During the pre-colonial times, mind my words, pre-colonial times, folklore has it, and verbal stories that some of us were able to pick up from our elders, who in turn were so appraised by their elders, had a unique story about coexistence on land between our forebears. But there came a time, probably before pre-colonial and with the advent of colonialism, that because of competing demands in the quest to access to land, the people who were normally able to coexist peacefully started to devise ways to fight for access to land. And some were better endowed with weapons from the Europeans, whereas the others were relying on the natural weapons that they were able to defend themselves for centuries. And the history of our fatherland, as distorted as it is presented nowadays, does not, in the opinion of so many of us, tell the true story. That is the background that I wanted to sketch, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, before I go to my prepared statement. Now, if we are talking about land and access to land, we must resist the temptation not to be carried away. We must be able to deal with the facts that our forefathers left us with and the state of landlessness that has still today having a big impact in the socio-cycles of our people. Sometimes it's easier to refer to individuals that they are not able to take care of themselves, stereotyping, calling them lazy, subjecting themselves to alcohol abuse. But those kind of terms that we use against one another comes very easy. But there are deep-rooted reasons why certain communities are the way they are today. Now, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, allow me to throw in my 5 cents in the debate surrounding the tabling of the land bill by our Honorable Minister of land, land, agriculture, water, and so many things. I rise this afternoon to make a contribution to one of our national assets, which is aimed to preserve our land resource, the land bill. I remember very vividly when we were at the Ministry of Land Reform and Resettlement, we commissioned an extended regional, if not countrywide, consultation meetings with key stakeholders involved in the administration of our land resource, and amongst others, and inevitably so, traditional authorities, farmers, conservation representatives, non-governmental organizations, and various statutory bodies such as resettlement committees and communal land boards were broadly consulted when we commenced with the process of amalgamating the two existing laws that until today is dealing with the land issue. The aim of the consultation meetings was to obtain regional inputs to enrich the land bill. During the consultation meetings, the Namibian people have spoken on various issues that needed to be included in the land bill. And if you allow me, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I would like to highlight these issues as follows. One, that the traditional authority must continue to administer communal land on behalf of the state, meaning us. And the traditional authority must be the primary allocator of the communal land. I am happy that the land bill retained and maintained the power of the transitional authority in this regard. To continue managing the communal land on behalf of the state for the benefit of the traditional communities who reside in those areas of their jurisdiction. This, in my opinion, is well covered under Section 22, Section 27, and Section 29 of the Land Bill. I cannot otherwise but to support those provisions. The current Communal Land Reform Act, Act number 5 of 2002, as amended, does not provide for guidance on how right of leaseholds in communal area can be inherited. This was also a topical issue raised during the consultation meetings on the land bill when it was started ab initio. And mind you, I happened to be the minister of that ministry at that point in time. The Namibian people directed that this aspect be covered in the land bill. I am very happy that the inheritance procedures of rights of leasehold is now provided for in the Land Bill under Section 40. This will reduce land-related conflicts when it comes to inheritance.
Yes, I will give the Honourable Minister 2 more minutes and a half.
Is it not
because
a
I have
don't I have 15 minutes?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Secretariat. No, I wanted to say, according to the rules.
Speaker.
According to the rules, okay, I'll come to that point, Honourable Member. According to the rules, the presiding officer may extend the time that is allocated by no more than 5 minutes. So I was recognizing the seniority of the member by giving him half of the time that is available to me. But now he has raised another issue, which is whether the clock was properly set when he started speaking.
Yeah, no.
Now the Secretariat have to deal with that because he may actually not be out of his time. Yeah, so it was not properly set.
Yeah,
so,
no.
okay, so he has
Some of us are, we might be senior, but we are very observant. The clock was not properly adjusted. May I continue, Honourable Speaker?
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah. No, not 5 minutes. It's past 10 minutes. Another key topical issues which was raised during the consultation meetings was the total prohibition of acquisition of agricultural land by foreign nationals. That's a given. The nation was very clear that the land resource should be preserved and maintained for the current and future generation. I'm very happy that the Land Bill provides for a total prohibition of foreigners to acquire any agricultural land. Foreigners must be encouraged to lease agricultural land to promote economic activities and create jobs for Namibians. This is well covered under Section 123 of the Land Bill. Leasing the land should not be as an anti-investor, as it can be protected by registration of a usufruct in the deed office commensurate to the investment. Honourable Speaker, the Land Reform Advisory Commission is mandated to establish committees to assist the Commission in the exercise of its functions. One such committee is the Land Acquisition Committee. The Land Acquisition Committee dealt with farm assessment and demarcation and makes its recommendation to the Commission. However, another committee called the Subdivision Committee is also in existence. In my view, these two committees deals with the same issue of subdivision of farms. It is my considered view that we should only have one committee which deals with agricultural land subdivision. Currently, I have observed that there are many farms that are subdivided and create small portion of land which is expensive to acquire. When a farm is subdivided into small holding, that farm owner will maximize the profit on acquisition. I call on ourselves, lawmakers, to buy out these farms before they are subdivided for the purpose of land reform and allocate them to previously disadvantaged Namibians. The subdivision of farms should be allowed on the basis of farm productivity and not on the basis of maximizing profit. I am therefore calling for matching and or harmonization of these two committees to avoid overlapping of functions. A certificate of waiver should also be a requirement for all subdivision of portion of agricultural land. I think that is currently also the case. Honourable Speaker, honourable members, another milestone in the Land Bill was finally drafted after the conclusion of the second National Land Conference. Amongst others, the conference resolved to review, reform and harmonize all legal instruments, that is, the Commercial Land Reform Act, Communal Land Reform Act, and the National Resettlement Policy. These legal instruments have been reviewed to accelerate and ensure successful land redistribution program, which is aimed to ensure access to land for previously disadvantaged Namibians and ultimately enhance security of tenure. I am further pleased by the provision of the land bill that enabled the resettled beneficiaries to buy out farms. This is a true security of tenure. Finally, Honourable Speaker, the second National Land Conference directed that different settlement models should be developed to cater for different land needs and aspiration of Namibians, which is well achieved by the Ministry. These models were approved by this Parliament during the review of this resettlement policy in 2023 and are high economic value model, moderate economic model, and low economic value model and are now in place. Similarly, I applaud the Ministry for commencing to address the plight of our generational farm
the Minister
workers.
Can now have the 2 minutes that I was offering to round up.
Okay, I'm definitely going to round up. Similarly, I applaud the Ministry for commencing to address the plight of generational farm workers and landless people in the, not the movement, landless people in the corridors as amongst the affected communities when it comes to land dispossession in this country. The Ministry ensured that there is a dedicated budget for land acquisition and resettlement for this category of people. It is my view that we are at the right trajectory to restore. I see Dr. What's the young man? Upindi likes the trajectory. I am not copying from you. To restorative measures, restore social justice for all, and ensuring economic empowerment of all the affected communities. I, however, urge the Ministry must ensure timely implementation and timely land acquisition to deliver hope to citizens that only know how to live in corridors, who do not know anything to call home, as they were born in corridors and are locked up in private farms, which were once the land of their forefathers. Honourable Speaker, with this said, I support the land bill. Thank you. I support it.
Honorable Nashinge. Honorable Nashinge.
Yeah, we know they won't clap for you, so thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. How many minutes do I have?
You have 20 minutes. 20 minutes.
I just wanted to be sure. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, honorable members. I also want to add my voice to the debate on the land bill, amendment bill. Honorable Speaker, fellow lawmakers, my contribution on this debate is that, well, this bill, definitely, the timing is perfect, and amending our land, the law that is guiding our land will definitely fundamentally shape the future of the land ownership in our land, as well as access and justice in our motherland. Land is not merely soil, it is heritage, identity, and livelihood. It was land that the denial of land, the theft of land that drove our parents and forefathers to take up arms and fight for our independence. Land was the battleground of our liberation struggle, and today it remains the measure of our freedom and equal legal status. How we legislate on land today will determine whether Namibia truly fulfills the promise of independence or continues to reproduce the injustice of the past. While the Land Bill contains amendable intentions, Honourable Minister, it raises serious concerns about fairness, practicality, and consistency with our national aspirations and, importantly, with the resolutions of the Second National Land Conference held in October 2028. That conference was meant to reset Namibia's land agenda on a foundation of equity and justice. Yet, several provisions of this bill contradict both the spirit and letter of those resolutions. Honourable Speaker, one of the most troubling realities this bill perpetuates is the disparity between communal and commercial land. This dualism is not accidental. It is the last visible shadow of apartheid land administration. The 2018 National Land Conference specifically resolves that, and I quote, land reform must eliminate dualism in land tenure systems, and that all land should be managed equitably and sustainably, regardless of classification. I end the quote. Yet, the 2025 bill treats communal land as if it were a lesser category managed by traditional authorities assumed to lack education or capability, while commercial land is handled under modern professional standards. This thinking is fiducialistic and discriminatory. If you check on this bill, the appreciation and an acknowledgement of the existence of close cooperation in our land, in the commercial land area, is very clear. But in the communal areas, it is not there. Are we saying our people in communal areas do not want to use the land using the instruments of doing business in our country? We must all ask ourselves that question. If the law demands professionalism, stability, sustainability, and accountability in the management of commercial land, the same standards must apply to communal land, supported through training, resources, and institutional strengthening. We cannot continue to label communal farmers as incapable while offering no capacity building. Equal rights and responsibilities over land are not optional. They are central to the justice for which our parents fought and for which so many lives were sacrificed. Subsection 6 gives the minister the power to appoint members of communal land boards after consultation with traditional authorities. However, consultation without shared authority is not partnership, it is tokenism. The 2018 Land Conference resolved that decentralization must be strengthened with regional and local participation in all land decisions. But this bill instead centralized power in the hands of the Honourable Minister, not this one alone, but the other ones that will come if it goes as it is. It sidelines the very communities the boards are meant to represent. That is one. For these boards to function effectively, appointments must be jointly made between the minister and traditional authorities, ensuring inclusivity, accountability, and community ownership. They must reflect gender balance, youth inclusion, and regional diversity. This board should not be mere administrative extension of the ministry.
They must be true custodians of community interests. Section 27 places the responsibility of publicly advertising land allocations on traditional authorities. While transparency is important, this provision imposes an unrealistic financial burden on institutions that are already operating on scarce resources. The advert in the newspaper, the smallest goes for, I think it's about 4,000 now. Radio is serious business now, and I don't think radio is even allowed. So where will this community, some of the community, we know that the disparities that we have within our community. If you go to the traditional authority setup of the Tswana-speaking Namibians, you can't compare them with, or even my own, the people of the Ovambaja in Ondanjaba. It's not the same. So this, Honorable Minister, is not fair. The 2018 conference emphasized that the state must bear the cost of administrative functions associated with land reform. By shifting this cost to traditional authorities, this bill contradicts the resolutions. It is unacceptable to expect chiefs and headmen, headwomen to divert community resources for expensive public notices. If transparency is the goal, the state must fund these activities and adopt practical community-based solutions such as local radio, village, which now we have. The local radios are only in some how are they called? The community radios, which no longer even get the necessary support. Many have closed down because of funding, but it's a better option. Village meetings and digital government portals. Transparency cannot come at the expense of the very communities it seeks to empower. Section 38, which governs the granting of leaseholds, is equally concerning. Traditional leaders, the rightful custodian of communal land, are not given mandatory consultation rights. Even a courtesy consultation is absent, undermining community participation. While I'm mindful of Article 16 of the Namibian Constitution, this bill remains ambiguous on whether Namibians can freely apply for leaseholds anywhere in the country. This lack of clarity contradicts the 2018 Land Conference resolution, which affirmed that all Namibians have the right to settle anywhere in Namibia. I met a gentleman originally from Riobot, who has been living in Ondangwa for the longest, for over 20 years. He keeps applying for a small piece of land, 15 kilometers out of Ondangwa. No response, no answer up to this hour. I have spoken to the leadership there. I hope they have listened to his cry. In a free Namibia. Whether it's because he is lighter than me, I don't know. Equally troubling is the lack of clarity on succession. When a leaseholder dies, the communities decide on the next owner rather than protecting the right of the spouses and children. This creates unnecessary conflict and insecurity, which is unacceptable for a just and modern land law. Honorable Speaker, communal land must not be confined to substance use. Along northern rivers and rural regions, community must be legally allowed to engage in agriculture, horticulture, and tourism. The 2018 Land Conference resolved to promote commercial and investment activities on communal land for economic empowerment. This bill is not reflective of that resolution. Yet the bill remains largely silent on this crucial matter. It should explicitly set aside a portion of communal land for small-scale commercial activities and prioritize small-scale farmers, ensuring they are supported with access to credit, markets, and training. Moreover, the bill should clarify whether individuals can apply for communal land through registered companies, juristic persons, or cooperative bodies rather than solely in their personal names, as a promotion of commercial land often often requires collective and cooperative approaches. This approach aligns with the resolution of the Second National Land Conference of October 2018, which emphasized promoting commercial and investment activities on communal land to drive economic empowerment. Furthermore, we must harness modern technology such as digital mapping, precision agriculture, climate smart irrigation, and renewable energy resolution to ensure that communal landholders are not left behind in the fourth industrial revolution that we are always singing about. Economic empowerment is hollow without access to the right tools, knowledge, and markets. The land registry system should also be modernized, leveraging blockchain technology to enhance transparency and prevent fraud. For further understanding, you can consult our manifesto. This bill centralizes excessive power. This bill centralizes excessive power in the minister, appointments, disputes to appeals, a total contradiction to 2018 resolution calling for independent and transparent land dispute resolution mechanism. Disputes over land must be adjudicated by neutral tribunals, not a tribunal set by political appointees. We can even establish a land ombudsman to address disputes and ensure fair practices. Decision makers must also declare conflict of interest, and all process must be transparent. Terms such as abandoned and underutilized land remain undefined, leaving room for arbitrary expropriation. The law must define clear, fair criteria, timelines, and remedies consistent with the resolution to protect tenure security. Namibia remains one of the most unequal countries in land distribution. The 2018 conference resolved to introduce ceiling on commercial farm owners. Yet, and I think we were hoping the Honorable Minister and her team could bring something totally different from what we are doing. For example, we do find individuals owning, let's say, 100,000 hectares. I think this is unfair. Perhaps we need to minimize how we can have a conversation to say perhaps let's have a maximum, 40,000 or 30,000. No, I'm not saying do it. I'm sharing how I feel, so that at the end of the day, all of us are able to share this gift that our Creator has given us. Yet, this bill avoids setting any maximum holdings. It also treats foreigners and Namibians equally for a long-term lease of 99 years, contrary to the principle of protecting citizens' access. A fair system would limit lease duration for foreigners at least for 25, 35, or 50 years, with strict review, while halting pre-enactment sales to prevent speculation. Progressive land taxes or maximum ownership thresholds should also be introduced to ensure equity. Disparities among traditional authorities in culture, wealth, or opportunity persist. Some have fishing quotas. I can mention names if the Speaker does not mind. Or tourism rights, those living in communal conservancies. Others are marginalized. I don't have anything in Okalongo. The bill must ensure equitable access for all Namibians regardless of region or culture. An annual land audit is essential. It must publicly record ownership, availability, and utilization. Honorable Minister, we would want to know how many Namibians from the previously disadvantaged groups are resettled. Men, women, young, old. How many? Transparency and accountability are non-negotiable if we are to honor the sacrifices made for our land. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, land was the reason our parents and grandparents took up arms and gave their lives for independence. They fought and died so that Namibians would have access to land, dignity, and opportunity. This land bill must not betray their sacrifices. If left unamended, the bill risks centralizing power, perpetuating inequality, and undermining communities. But if shaped properly, it can fulfill the promise of the 2018 National Land Conference, deliver equitable access, strengthen governance, and empower all Namibians. Let us pass a land bill that finally honors the blood, sweat, and vision of our forebears. A bill that makes land a source of justice, empowerment, and unity. And let us build a Namibia where land is truly for the people, for all its citizens, and generations to come. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Now we have 8 minutes. We have 10 minutes to go. And the next speaker is Honorable Lutuhezi. Honorable Lutuhezi.
Okay. Honorable Speaker, honorable members of this August House, I appreciate the opportunity to contribute to this important debate on the land bill. This bill comes at a critical time in our nation's development, and the decisions we make here will shape how land, one of our most valuable resources, is managed and protected for generations to come. In Namibia, land is not merely an economic asset. It is the foundation of our identity, our culture, and our heritage. For many of our rural and indigenous communities, land has been passed down through generations and managed under traditional customs and laws. Therefore, this land bill must not only regulate the use of land, but also recognize, respect, and reinforce the traditional systems that have safeguarded it for centuries. Traditional leaders have been the custodians and protectors of our ancestral lands, maintaining balance and social order long before the modern state came into being. Honorable Speaker, long before there was a government, long before there was ministries or committees, they were our traditional leaders. They were the custodian of the land. They led not through wealth, but through wisdom, not by decree, but by trust. They knew the land, every river, every hill, every sacred site, because they lived with it. When dispute arose, it was the traditional leader who called the community together under the shade of a tree and settled matters fairly. When drought came, it was the traditional leader who organized grazing so that every family cattle could survive. When a family lost its home, it was the traditional leader who found them a place to rebuild their lives. These are not small acts. These are acts of governance. Governance rooted in compassion and community. And so, when we now debate the land bill, we are not simply talking about policies or procedures. We are talking about whether we still recognize and respect those roots that have sustained our people for generations. Honorable Speaker, I have read the land bill with great care. I appreciate its intention to bring order, fairness, and accountability in land management. But I must also speak frankly. This bill, in its current form, weakens the very foundation it should be building upon. Section 37 requires applicants to seek consent from traditional authorities, but then Section 36 gives that the same power to the land committee. The final decision, Honorable Speaker, rests not with the community that lives on the land, not with the custodians who knows it, but with the minister. In that structure, the traditional authority becomes a checkbox, not a voice, a step in the process, not a partner in decision making. If we are not careful, we will pass a law that strips our traditional leaders of the little authority they still hold. the authority that connects governance to the people. And I ask you, honorable members, can a tree stand when its roots are cut? Traditional leaders are not obstacles to development. They are its guardians. When empowered, they protect communities from exploitation. They ensure that every family has a place to farm, that land is shared fairly, and that the sacred spaces are respected. But when they are ignored, we create alienation, we create resentment, we create a system where the people feel that the law no longer speaks for them. Honorable Speaker, this land bill should not strip traditional leaders of their remaining powers. It should empower them. Empower them with clear authority in communal land allocation. Empower them with training, resources, and recognition. Empower them so that they can stand proudly as equal partners with the state in managing our land. Empowering traditional leaders is not about going backward. It's about grounding development in the values that had carried our people forward for generations. Let us look across our neighbors. In Zambia, chiefs are recognized by law as land custodians. The state provides them with support and resources, not to compete with them, but to strengthen their role. The Zambian government went further by providing chiefs with vehicles and VIP protection, recognizing their role in land governance and community leadership in a matter of national importance. This official support is not symbolic. It is a statement that traditional authority matters, and that the dignity of chiefs must be protected, and that the state and traditional leadership can work hand in hand for the benefit of all citizens. In Botswana, the Tribal Land Act allows land boards and chiefs to work hand in hand. These nations have not lost control by empowering their traditional leaders. They have gained stability, trust, and unity. Namibia can and must do the same. Honorable Speaker, our Constitution in Article 100 recognizes that while land belongs to the state, it also acknowledges that the systems of ownership established by custom, this is not a contradiction. It is a call for balance. It reminds us that government must not only be legal, it must be legitimate. It must speak to the head, but also to the heart. And the heart of our people beats in their communities. Their traditional leaders still carry the sacred responsibility of protecting the land and the people who depends on it. Honorable members, the land bill should not be a weapon that divides the state from its people. It should be a bridge between our modern institutions and our ancient wisdom. It should not silence traditional leaders. It should strengthen their voice. It should not centralize power. It should share it with those who know the land best. When we empower traditional leaders, we empower the communities that they serve. When we empower communities, we empower the nation. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, I stand before you not to reject the spirit of reform, but to defend the spirit of our people. This bill, as it stands, cuts too deeply into the roots that sustain us. It must be reworked with the guidance, wisdom, and full participation of our traditional authorities. Therefore, I cannot support the bill in its current form. I respectfully submit that it be referred back further for consultation with our traditional leaders, who are the rightful custodians of communal land and the voices of our rural communities. Let us engage them meaningfully, not as a formality, but as equal partners in shaping the future of land governance in Namibia. Because in the end, this is not just about land, it's about dignity, it's about identity, it's about justice. Let us ensure that when our children ask us one day what we did with our inheritance, we can proudly say we strengthened our roots so that the trees of our nation could stand tall for generations to come. I so submit.
Honorable members, we now only have about 3 minutes left, and the honorable member is advised to maybe adjourn the debate until the next day, until the next sitting day. Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I seek the indulgence of the House to adjourn the debate to Tuesday, the 11th of November,
Tuesday,
for me to make my meaningful contribution. Thank you.
Yes.
Is it agreed to defer the? Is it agreed to defer the discussion until Tuesday? No contribution on Thursday? No, there are other members who had asked for the floor, and I have to find out whether there is anyone that would like to speak tomorrow, if we are going to adjourn. No, honorable members. That is something that can be discussed, because we have discussed and we have agreed to give priority to the bill. Honorable members, no one has a veto power in the House. You can't just say aye. So I'm asking, is it agreed to defer the discussion until Tuesday? No. There are people who want to defer to an earlier date, and they have a right to do that. Yeah.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, yes. I want to defer it to tomorrow for further discussions. Thank you.
So the discussions on the bill is deferred until tomorrow at 14 hours. Yeah, tomorrow. Yes. Now the House adjourns on automatic adjournment. It's time to knock off.
This is also important.